Hey, what's good, y'all? So I was just looking at this email I got a few minutes ago. Very interesting, by the way. It was from a brother that got my new book, Healed Together Without Hurting Each Other. And he was like, yo, loving it so far, but does this work for whenever your woman is already checked out of the relationship? She's already just a completely different version of herself, quite honestly. And I asked him, I said, what do you mean by that? That's kind of vague. Tell me more. And he was like, all right, in the short, he cheated on her multiple times. He came clean about it. He changed his ways. He cut off everything that he had going on in the past, everything, right? He's just completely changed. And this was like 3.5, 4 months ago. She said that she forgave him. She wanted to work on the relationship, but it doesn't seem like she's forgiven him. And at this point, he's starting to suspect that she's just a different version of herself. She's nothing like she used to be in terms of being soft and kind and all that. She doesn't really want to talk as much. She doesn't want to go on dates. And again, it's been 3.5, 4 months, so he feels like it's long enough to have, I guess, on some level moved on. Now, what was interesting is that he went on to describe, and I'm paraphrasing here, but these are the exact adjectives, that she seems more rude, bitter, and masculine. Not to be mean, but that's how he said that's how she's been coming off. So what to do in that situation? Does the book apply? All this other good stuff. So for him and anybody else in this situation, I'm going to tell y'all like I told him. Before we can talk about whether or not a woman has changed in this situation or forgiven you and all of that, the first thing that's got to change is your entitlement to the access that you had in her that you took for granted, that has you mistaking her boundaries as bitterness. Because that's all that is. Now she has new boundaries that she didn't have before. There's a certain level of distance she has to keep between you and her that she didn't have to worry about before. But those are just boundaries. It's not bitterness. Like, what has changed is her perspective of you, because it used to be that, this is a guy that loves me, won't hurt me, and now you showed her differently. So until she knows what version of you that she's dealing with right now, there has to be some level of distance, like a safe distance. Another thing that changed was her belief in her heart, her trust in her heart, because it led her into heartbreak. So you're not going to see her heart come forward in this evaluation period, which you're still in, by the way. You're not going to see the softness, the kindness, the receptiveness, her being vulnerable, things like that. What she's doing in this time is making sure that her heart stays out of the way as she makes her decisions. She can't be led by her emotions. She more so wants to decide based on your patterns and based on principle. Like, it's why the Bible says that the heart is deceitful. She just had to learn that the hard way by you. So you can't break a woman's heart and then fault her for learning the lesson that you taught her. She didn't enroll herself in Be Careful Who You Trust 101. You forced her to sit down in that seat in that class and you taught her the lesson. So as she's applying that, you can't be mad at her and calling it, bitterness or rudeness or masculinity. Not to justify anything that she does, but I kind of get where she's coming from. And again, I wouldn't really use the word masculinity. Even if you see some aspects of it in terms of stoicism and all of that, I would say that she's wisened up. But let's just for a second call it masculinity, like you call it, or y'all might consider it. Let's call it masculinity. Then what was it whenever you made the decisions that pushed her into this space? Definitely wasn't masculinity. It was stupidity. So let's call a spade a spade. Now, has she forgiven you? Whenever she's acting like this and she don't really want to be around you and so on and so forth, I'm going to just bring it. And actually, I did talk about this in quite detail in my book, Healed Together Without Hurting Each Other. But let's go ahead and break it down here. Because a lot of people like to say forgiveness is a process. It's not a one-time thing, but they don't really understand. It's not so much a process in terms of how much time it takes. It's a process in terms of how many times it takes to fully forgive. What I mean is, whenever you told her about whatever it is that you did, whenever at the time of discovery, that was just one forgiveness. But for every one forgiveness on that level, there's 1,000 more times she has to forgive you mentally. For all the things that's going to haunt her, all the things that changed about the way that she sees the world, sees herself. Every time that she looks at a woman that slightly resembles the girl that you stepped out on her with, and she has some level of resentment or anger or hurt that returns, she has to forgive you. Every time that she wakes up and she still feels exhausted because, she had a nightmare about you doing whatever you did before, like, she has to forgive you at that time. She has to forgive you throughout the day. She has to forgive you whenever she sees her friends and her family that warned her about you and how you might hurt her, but she defended you against. And now she has to go into those spaces and hang her head low, humiliated and embarrassed that you proved them right. She has to forgive you for that. She has to forgive you whenever she looks in the mirror and she sees a crease that she didn't see before, a wrinkle or a cellulite or a roll or something that she didn't see before. And now she wonders, is that the reason why he stepped out? How can I change that? Like, she has to forgive you for all of these different things, all these things that haunt her, her paranoia, her trust issues, her doubts, her fears that you're going to do it again. So, like, again, 1,000 different times she has to forgive you from that one thing that you revealed to her, and nobody wins 1,000 battles in a row undefeated. So there are going to be times where another trigger comes up that she has to forgive you for that she might not. She might lash out in response to, but if she at least has verbalized it, she's still standing there, it's 3.5, 4 months in, I would say she's in the process of forgiving you. And it's going to take some time before she completes that process. Again, I go in way more detail in my book, Heal Together Without Hurting Each Other. Click the link down in the caption to get it, or go on Amazon. It's half off at the link down in the caption, by the way. But the moral of the story is this, man. It's not so much that your woman has, quote unquote, changed. I wouldn't use that word. I would say that in a situation like this, your woman has evolved. She's evolved with more boundaries, evolved with more wisdom, evolved with more discernment. It's an evolution that she probably wouldn't wish on her worst enemy in the way that she had to evolve, but evolution nonetheless. And if you want to be compatible with this evolved version of her, you too have to evolve. You have to evolve out of that selfishness. You have to evolve out of that desire for instant gratification. You have to evolve. Like, if you don't evolve, you're going to lose her. So, sink or swim. The choice is yours. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Again, Heal Together Without Hurting Each Other is actually half off right now at the link down in the caption. I'll let y'all be good.